The United States has carried out fresh strikes inside southern Iran, even as negotiations between Washington and Tehran continue behind the scenes. U.S. Central Command says the attacks targeted boats allegedly attempting to lay mines and missile launch sites, describing the operation as defensive and necessary to protect American forces during the fragile ceasefire. The strikes come at a critical moment in the 3-month-long conflict, with diplomacy still alive but tensions remaining extremely high across the region. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Washington is still giving diplomacy every opportunity to succeed before considering stronger military action. According to Rubio, a possible framework is now being discussed that could reopen the Strait of Hormuz, restore maritime traffic and begin a time-limited negotiation over Iran's nuclear program.
The straits have to be open. They're going to be open one way or the other. So they need to be open. What's happening there is unlawful, it's illegal, it's unsustainable for the world, it's unacceptable. I don't know of any country in the world that does it. The Russians are not in favor of a tolling system. The Chinese are not in favor of a tolling system. I mean, there's no country in the world that's in favor of a tolling system except the regime in Iran. So that's not acceptable. That cannot happen. The straits need to be open, unimpeded, without tolls. And obviously that needs to happen immediately as soon as anything's agreed to.
At the same time, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and senior negotiators were in Doha for talks with Qatari officials focused on ending the conflict. Those discussions reportedly centered on two major issues: reopening the Strait of Hormuz and dealing with Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Back in Tehran, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei tried to lower expectations surrounding the talks. He said negotiators had reached conclusions on many discussion points, but stressed that this does not mean a final agreement is close. Baghaei said Iran's current focus is ending the war first, while nuclear negotiations would only begin later if a broader memorandum of understanding is finalized. He also insisted Tehran is acting according to its own strategy and would respond whenever necessary to protect Iran's interests. Baghaei accused Israel of trying to undermine the ongoing negotiations between Tehran and Washington. He warned that Israel could still take steps aimed at derailing diplomacy and said Iran has no guarantees the United States would honor any future agreement. The Iranian spokesperson also confirmed that mediation efforts by Pakistan and several regional countries have played an important role in keeping negotiations alive in recent weeks. However, he said there are currently no plans for a fresh mediation visit between Tehran and Islamabad. The Strait of Hormuz remains the center of both the diplomatic negotiations and the global energy crisis. Iran says it will not impose tolls on ships passing through the waterway, but officials indicated that service charges related to navigation and environmental protection could still be introduced under a future regional arrangement involving Oman. Reports suggest the United States and Iran are discussing a phased reopening plan in which Iran would gradually clear mines from the strait after a ceasefire agreement. Traffic through the waterway remains far below normal levels. Before the conflict, more than 125 vessels crossed the strait daily. Iranian state media now says only a few dozen ships are passing through under authorization from Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Iran also says it has shot down a hostile stealth drone using a newly deployed air defense system. Iranian media described the interception as proof that foreign drones can no longer operate freely over the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, Iranian military officials continue warning that any renewed attacks would be met with a rapid and extensive response. In another major development, President Donald Trump is now trying to link the Iran negotiations to a wider regional realignment. Trump says countries helping mediate between Washington and Tehran should also normalize relations with Israel through the Abraham Accords. He specifically pointed to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt and Jordan, arguing that expanding the accords would strengthen regional cooperation. But the proposal is already facing resistance across the Muslim world, especially as the wars in Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran continue. Pakistan has repeatedly stated that recognition of Israel depends on the creation of an independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital. Analysts warn that introducing the Abraham Accords into the Iran negotiations could complicate an already fragile diplomatic process. Regional tensions are also rising again along the Lebanon front. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will intensify strikes against Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. The Israeli military later announced attacks on infrastructure in the Bekaa Valley and other areas linked to the Iran-backed group. Although Israel and Lebanon agreed to a ceasefire earlier this year, cross-border tensions and airstrikes have continued. Global oil markets reacted sharply to signs that diplomacy may still prevent a wider regional escalation. Brent crude prices fell more than 4%, while US crude also dropped after optimism emerged that a possible deal deal could eventually reopen the Strait of Hormuz and ease supply disruptions. Even so, analysts warn that the global energy crisis is far from over and that shipping flows through Hormuz may take many months to fully recover. For now, the Middle East remains caught between diplomacy and escalation. Fresh US strikes, Iranian warnings, regional mediation efforts and growing geopolitical pressure are all unfolding at the same time, with the future of the war, global energy markets and regional stability still hanging in the balance.